Hey everybody, and welcome to this exciting course on C Sharp. We are learning C Sharp step by step. As you know, we have started learning collections in C Sharp. In the last lecture, we learned to create one-dimensional array. Here is the code we wrote in the last lecture. We learned to declare and initialize an array with the values. We talked about the memory representation of the array and the indexing concept. Indexing is the core concept, and I told you all the collection implements this concept. Using the index values, we can access elements of an array and can perform read and write operations. And then we talked about the index out of range exception. This exception is a runtime error and it causes when we try to insert an index value which does not exist. And then we discussed the length property. Length property is a very useful property. Whenever we try to walk through an array with the help of a loop, we use length property. And in this lecture, you will see this length property in action because this lecture is all about looping through a one-dimensional array. So that was a quick recap of the previous lecture. Let's now move on. In this lecture, you will learn to apply loop on the array to walk through all the array components one by one. Without applying the loop on the array, it is nearly impossible to perform operations like read, write operations, or manipulative operations. We simply cannot insert the index values manually. The things will become very complicated. For example, if I want to calculate the sum of all the values without using the loop, then I need to code all the indexes manually. And it should something look like, for example, here the index 0 represents the number 10 plus numbers of index 1 plus numbers of index 2, and the same way I will go up to the index 9, which is the last element in our array. So you see, it is nearly impossible to work with the index values manually. In addition, this is not programming. Programming is all about automation. So using a loop, we can automate our process. We can perform read and write operation as well as others manipulative operations. So let's see, how do we loop through one dimensional array. I'm going to clean up some space here and we keep only the array which has 10 components, right? The length of the array is 10. Now, in order to loop through an array, we always prefer for loop. For loop is a best choice because the for loop already has its own statements. We don't need to create extra variables. So let's create a for loop and read out this number array. One thing we know from the previous lecture, the array has index values. Index values starts always from 0. So this is the index of the first element and the index of the last element is 9. So we simply need to generate a for loop where the loop variable starts from 0 and goes up to 9. So it's a simple loop and we know how to do that. So we are going to create an index variable, a loop variable, which is j, and our array starts from 0. So we are going to initialize the j with 0, and here we will choose the maximum limit that should be minimum or less than 10. And now we are going to simply increase the value of j. If I simply print the value of j in the console, so you will see an output like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to the 9. And 0 to 9 are actually the index values of our array. So let's run the program and see the output in the console. And so you see the output in the console. We are getting index values. It starts from 0 and the last value is 9. So now instead of inserting index values manually, we can simply make the use of our loop variable. That's it. The read operation on the array is performed. As I run the program, you will see all the values. We can also do manual compilation in order to understand this piece of code. In the first representation, the value of the j is 0 and numbers of index 0 represents 10, and so the number 10 is printed in the console. In the second repetition, the value of j becomes 1, numbers of 1 represents 20, and so we see 20 in the console. So let's run the program and check the output. And so you see the read operation, right? All the values are printed in the console. So this is how we simply apply the loop on the array and automate our process. But you can see the things have become much simpler and easier. Let's move on. And now we will discuss the use of the length property. This for loop is somehow problematic because of this constant 10. And you might be thinking how, why this value, a constant 10 value, is problematic. So let me show you why this constant 10 is problematic. Let's suppose this piece of code is a part of any application, and after some time, we are required to reduce or increase the size of our array. For example, the new requirement is only 5 elements, like this. So as we reduce the size of the array, the index values are also reduced. Now, the index of the last element or the last component in the array is 4. So, after changing the size, we must reconfigure our loop because this loop will still go from 0 to 9. And when we try to access the index that does not exist, the program will crash and you will see index out of range exception. So, I need to change this constant value. Instead of 10, I need to put value 5 here. So you see, I was forced to modify my loop as soon as we changed the size of the array. This modification in the loop can be avoided using the length property. So instead of the constant 5, I can call the 5 using the length property. We know the length property always returns the number of components. The number of components in this array is 5. So here we will get a constant value 5 through the length property. And the value of j will go from 0 to 4, 1 less than the length property. And 1 less than the length property is always the index of the last element. So by using the length property, we don't need to worry about the loop as we reduce or increase the size of our array. As I run the program now, it will work. Now let's say I want to increase the size and will put more values here. Let's say 70, 80. Our program will still work. Now we have 8 components, so the length property will return the value 8, and the last index in the array is 7. Our program will still work without any problem because here we are using the length property, which will automatically return the constant 8, and the loop variable will go from 0 to 7. So that was the proper use of the length property. Let's move on. Now let's say I want to calculate the sum of all the values that we have in our numbers array. This calculation can easily be done using this for loop. Now we don't need to write the manual index like this. Numbers of 0, numbers of 1, and up to the numbers of 7. So we don't need to do manual compilation. We can simply create a variable here. Uh, the name of the variable is sum, and now inside the loop, we will simply write this statement. And when the loop has gone through all the elements outside of the loop, we can print the sum variable. So we are using arithmetic assignment operator. We have already discussed it in our previous lectures. This is the short form of the operator. We can also write it like this. Fine. In the first repetition, numbers of 0 represent 10. So 10 plus 0, sum has 0 in the beginning. So 10 is saved in the sum variable. So after the first repetition, the value in the sum variable is 10. Now in the second repetition, the value of j becomes 1, and the numbers of 1 represents 20. 20 plus 10, the sum has now 10, becomes 30. 30 is saved in the sum variable. This cycle simply goes the same way, and when the loop is done with all the indexes, we have sum saved in this variable, sum variable. So let's run the program and check the output, and so you see the sum of all the values, which is 360. So that was a read operation. We can also perform the write operation. Write operation simply means we can change and update the values. So let me just create another loop here, and it will also use the length property, numbers of length, like this. In this loop, I will simply change or update the values of our numbers array. Let's say I want to multiply each value with 5. So I will simply write a program. Numbers of the variable name is I, and then again numbers of I multiply by 5. So this operation is actually called right operation. In the first repetition of the loop, the value of I is 0, number of I represents 10, 10 multiplied by 5 becomes 50, and then the value 50 is assigned back to the same index, which is 0. That means the value 10 is now replaced with 50. So once this loop has gone all its repetition, our array will be totally changed. And now after performing the write operation, we can create another loop to read out the values. Most students and beginners perform write and read operation at the same time in a single loop, which is a wrong practice. You don't need to do that. You will create a separate loop for write operation and then another loop for read operation. So let's now do the read operation. Simply create a loop, the same loop uh, like this, and now we will simply read out the values. So, so this is how we code. Let's run the program and check the output. And so you see all the values in our array are updated, right? Let's move on. We have been working with an integer array, but we can also create an array of characters, floating point numbers, and strings. For example, in a program, I want to create a name list of 5 persons. I will create an array like this. Now, this time, the data type of my array is a string, and here I can place names. Let's say Peter, Sarah, Johan, Adam, Alex. We can simply run a loop and read out all the names, use the length property, names dot length like this. And now in a right line, we can print out our array using this way. Now run the program and you will see all the names in the console. And so you see all the names in the console. Now let's say I want to find a name. This is my name list and the list can be longer, right? At this time, we are working only with the 5 names. So I want to find a name in the list. So I will simply create a variable. Let's have a bool variable. The name of the variable is found, which is false from the beginning. And I want to know if the name Sarah is in the list or not, right? So I will simply code an if statement if names of I equals Sarah. If the condition becomes true, so I will change my isFound variable to true. And right after that, we can simply call the break statement. We suppose that this name list is a unique name list. There is no name repetition in the list. So as we found Sarah, we don't need to go further. So we can simply call break. And now, once we come outside of the loop, we can investigate is found variable. If is found is true, that means we have found a name. We can simply print a message, say Sarah is sorry, or we can save the name as well. Create a variable, and the name of the variable is found name, which is empty. And as we found the name, we can save the name in the variable, right? And now we can print a better message. We can say found name is in the list. That's it. As we found the name on the index 1, we are assigning the name to the found name variable. And here we are simply printing the message. I think we are missing a curly braces here. So let's run the program and check the output. And so you see the output in the console, Sarah is in the list. Now let's say I want to find a name that is not the part of the list. I will change here and put my name, right? Salar is not the part of the list. So we don't see any output in the console. So let's run it. And so you see no message in the console. Now, one last thing that I want to show you here is that using the read line to read the values in a program and save those values in an array. So we are going to create an array And this time we will not initialize it with the values. We will just reserve the spaces. And let's say the name of the array is user values, and we will reserve, let's say, 5 spaces. That's it. And now we will simply call a loop on it, user values length, and here we will assign the values in the array using the read line. We can also print a message before the loop, insert 5 values. And once all the values are inserted, this is the read operation. You remember what I told you earlier, read operation in a separate loop, and then write operation in a separate loop. Now we can write another loop, which is perform the write operation, user value of length, and here we will simply print out all the values, user values of I. So we are creating an empty array, no values. We run a loop which goes the index from 0 to 4, and then on every index we are assigning a user value. So let's run the program and see the output. So here we have insert 5 values. So let's insert 5 values, and now you see all the values I just inserted. So, my dear listeners, that was a detailed lecture on applying loops on one dimensional array, and we discussed several different cases. In the next lecture, we will learn and discuss the for each loop. You remember what did I tell you when we covered the loop? I said the for each loop works together with the collection. Now we can code one dimensional array, which is a collection. That means we can learn and use for each loop. So in the next lecture, we will discuss and learn for each loop. I will see you there. Thanks for watching.